We have the latest addition to the list of concerning aspects about David Tepper as the owner of the Carolina Panthers. Dennis, what is this, number 5,612?
Yes.
Okay.
I do quick math.
Had to add 1 to 5,611.
Yes.
Multiple reports have David Tepper inserting himself into the actual play calling for the Carolina Panthers. The offensive play calling. Maybe, as some reports say, he passed a piece of paper to the coaches of a play he saw the Browns run previously and said, this one worked, why don't you run this one? Maybe he approached Frank Reich, as was reported management had, and asked him why they weren't running more RPOs, run-pass options, like Bryce Young ran at Alabama. Maybe some of it had to do with what Chris Canty said on ESPN Radio, our morning show on Sportsmanlike, which you can hear every morning here on 99.9 The Fan. He said this about something he's heard involving David Tepper.
Just heard from somebody that is, let's just say, familiar with the Carolina Panthers situation. David Tepper would go as far as to insert himself when it comes to play calling.
What?
Yeah, like telling the coach what he wanted to see in the way of play calls in the game plan.
What?
Yeah. Clown show. There's no way you can go into a game week and tell the coach, hey, I want to see more of this in our game plan. And if the coach doesn't have that as a part of his system or his plan for his quarterback in that given week, there's no way you can insist on that. I think that is absolutely beyond the pale when it comes to what an owner should do in terms of undermining the authority and the credibility of the head coach when it comes to the players in the locker room and putting those guys in positions to have success.
Just in case you missed it, in the middle of that, he said clown show. Now, you may be like, well, who's the clown in this situation? Who is he calling a clown in this situation? Let's hear Chris Canty continue on Sportsmanlike, our morning show.
Clown show.
When you're the coach.
David Tepper is a clown show. I'm just going to say it for the Panthers fans out there. I know they would love to say it to his face, but he is a straight clown, preaching patience because he's exercised it in an industry where he actually knows something about it, and now saying that he's going to do the same thing in the NFL where he's shown us he's not. He's had 3 different head coaches across 5 years and fired them all in season. You're not patient. Stop saying you're going to exercise patience when you're not patient. You're impetuous. And right now, your team is a circus.
How's that taste, David Tepper? Here's the thing, okay? I want to be very clear on the differences here. And also, I now know the number one thing the Panthers should be looking for in their next head coach. The number one thing. But we'll get to that in a second. First of all, David Tepper, as the owner of a franchise, has every single right to ask any question he wants and get an answer about his team, about the roster, about the play calling. If he wants to go down and say, like, hey, why isn't Miles Sanders getting the ball more? I'm paying him $7 million a year. The coaches should look at him and explain why. Well, he's not being effective on these plays. We actually think Chuba Hubbard does this better. He was a little banged up earlier in the year. Oh, do you want us to watch some film? Like, you're the owner. You can get whatever answers you want. Hey, I thought when we were going through the draft process, you told me something about Bryce being great at RPOs. What's going on there? Oh, well, yeah, great. Here you go. Let me explain why we're doing what we're doing. Like, as an owner, you have the right to ask. If you expect your input to change them, now we got problems. Right? If you expect to say, like, hey, on 3rd down, I want to throw it deep to Chark, that's a problem. That's a big problem. Football is one of those things. And there's a bunch of them, but football is definitely one of them. One of those things that seems easier than it is when you're watching it. Every Joe Schmo in the stands thinks they can yell out the correct play call. And more importantly, every Joe Schmo in the stands thinks they know why that play call was the wrong one. Should have ran the ball. Should have threw the ball. Why are you running up the middle all the time? How about you throw it to your most expensive player? It's not always that easy. Matter of fact, it's never that easy. And I hate to say this to David Tepper, you're very rich. You are the owner of the team. You are in the room because you've earned that right by buying the team. You are a Joe Schmo in the stands when it comes to football knowledge. That's what you are. You're no different than the guy at my high school games that would stand, he was one of the parents, back against the back fence at the top of the stands, and every single play, run the darn ball. You're no different than that guy. Every single play. I played there for 2 years. Every home and away. Every single play. That's you, David Tepper. Fun fact, you can't run the ball on every play. It's just, you can't do it. As a quarterback, that guy was my worst enemy. Football is not that easy. You can't watch a couple games and know what to fix. So guess what is the number one thing the Panthers should be looking to for their next head coach? Whether it's Ben Johnson, whether it's somebody else. The number one thing they should be looking for is somebody that is willing to stand up to David Tepper. And actually, it might be one of those things that David Tepper respects. David Tepper comes down and says, why aren't we running more RPOs? I want more RPOs. Why aren't you running this play from the Browns? You need a coach to say, Mr. Tepper, with all due respect, you don't know what the heck you're talking about. Get out of my office. We got a game to plan for. That's the only way this is going to work. I said this about Frank Reich on the sideline, that sometimes he felt like too nice of a guy. Sometimes when things weren't going well, when the offensive line wasn't blocking, you needed to metaphorically, because you can't do this anymore, metaphorically grab someone by the face mask, bring their face close to yours, and scream as loud as you possibly could. Sometimes you need to do that. And Frank Reich never struck me as the kind of guy that would. And I guarantee you, if the owner, the head honcho, the number one in command, and the commander and franchise chief came down asking questions or making suggestions, Frank Reich was not the type to go, hey, man, that's a bad idea. You look at the best coaches in the league, I think they would. Imagine going to Bill Belichick and saying, hey, Robert Kraft wants you to blitz more on third down. Robert Kraft can take that and put it where it belongs. Imagine going to Kyle Shanahan. Right? Any of these guys, heck, Andy Reid. Well, why don't you go ahead and give me a cheeseburger? Like that, you're just not going to tell those guys what to do on the football field. If David Tepper comes down, I need the next coach. If he comes down from his owner's suite, right, on a Wednesday, hey, coach, few thoughts on practice, few thoughts on the play calling. I need the head coach to look at him and go, write them down, fold it up, light it on fire, and you'll be good. You want me to explain why we're going to do what we're going to do? I'll be in my office. You want to tell me what we're going to do? You're going to have to either not do that or fire me. And again, it might be a little bit of a respect thing. David Tepper might go like, all right, well, okay, I'll get out of your way. He might want to dig his heels in and have, two grizzly bears fighting over a salmon screaming match, but you have to believe in your offensive system enough to scream over the salmon. You have to. You can't let the Joe Schmo in the stands impact your play calling. You can't let the football Joe Schmo in the owner's box affect your play calling. Neither of them. You can't. And you have to believe that with your whole heart and be willing to lose your job over it. Because if you don't lose your job over that, you'll lose your job over the negative results that come from listening to the owner on play calling. Just make it swift. Go out on your own terms.
Come watch tape with us.
Exactly. Come watch tape. I'll show you why we don't do that.
Yeah.
That's a bad idea. And I'll show you why. But I to be completely honest, every minute I show you explaining why that's a bad idea is something I'm not coming up with a good idea. But if you want to do it because you're the owner, meet me in my office in 20 minutes. Am I being harsh? Yeah, because, there's this conveyor belt kicking towards Sunday when we got another game and the clock is ticking and I need to focus on that. But thank you for your interest.